now from Nashville, Tennessee, it's time for another episode of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow, where all things related to your safety and security are discussed, detailed, and delivered to you. You may leave with a tip that saves you money or a tactic that saves your life. So here are your hosts, owner and founder of Defund Systems, Brink Fiddler, and owner and operator of Herring Technology, Tom Herring.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for this part 2 edition of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow, where we are discussing a variety of things, but in light of recent crime sprees moving into the suburban areas and the brazenness of criminals, especially the younger criminals with going armed now, people are wanting to know, what can I do to make my home safer, my family safer? What habits can I change? What are some simple, easy things I can do to my home to make it a safer place and more of a fortress? And I tell my clients all the time, we typically design your home to function like a fortress, but not look like one, because people don't want to pull up. Most people don't want to pull up to a fortress. I do. But on that note, we were getting into firearms, and I want to stay here for a minute. But on the shotgun, Tom, you wanted to add some knowledge and some really important information on shotgun
Could we
stuff.
recap first what we learned in the first episode in a nutshell? Your 3D analogy, which is what?
Delay, deny, destroy.
That's right.
Yeah. And that goes in a lot of facets of life, right?
Absolutely. Not just at home.
Yeah, but I mean, we want to, number one, send a message that you want to go somewhere else. You don't want to try this here. Number two, if you do try it here, we want to slow you down significantly. And then number three, if it gets to that, then we're going to destroy you with overwhelming firepower, training, and rounds down range, whatever that looks like. I mean, there's not going to be a 25% response. I mean, if it gets there, then it's 150% response, period. And, we'd hit on, we'd gotten into the shotgun and why that's your choice of weapon. And it doesn't take as much training to get decent with a shotgun just in home. And I mean,
Correct.
Obviously hunting is a different story, but it's a very devastating weapon. It's heavy. It's not super nimble and clearing corners and things like that. But again, if you're not, and most people aren't, if you're not going to train enough, and you want something pretty reliable, and again, back to that universal sound of a shotgun being racked, everybody knows what that sound is.
The only thing on that, and yes, I agree 100%. But my question, I guess where I'm on the racking of a shotgun, you either didn't have a round in the magazine in the chamber or something before to rack it. You had to not be ready, in my opinion.
Sure.
So now the second round that goes off, you're going to hear that if it's a pump, obviously.
They're not going to hear it if I shot them.
But the other one's still waiting outside, Mike. So
right.
So racking of a shotgun, you're talking about the...
Correct.
Exactly.
Everybody knows what that is and knows what it means, and it does. It stops them in their tracks, and it works great on TV when they do it.
Yeah.
It works great in our warehouse when we do it based off of an analytic on motion, and we just play it over a speaker, and we can watch people as they walk in and hear that and how they freeze.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. Not that we'd play tricks on anybody like
that,
but it's
all
does.
Serious here at Herring Technology.
Exactly. But the other, there's other reasons for me for the shotgun. They're generally, they're simple to use. Kids even can now. Obviously, you don't take, an 8-year-old, hand them a 12-gauge shotgun because they're going to go further back from the recoil and never want to shoot it again or drop it or anything like that. You don't want that to be the first time they ever do shoot it, so make sure they're capable of it, but it is fairly simple. The other thing I like about it, you mentioned rounds down range. So, if I'm in my house and I'm shooting a pistol, I mean, obviously I can get different rounds of ammo for different purposes that won't travel as far through drywall, through everything. And then if you jump over into the carbine rifle or anything like that, obviously if you're not fully trained, you're trying to hit a smaller target, and the rounds downrange can travel through drywall pretty good, or out the front door and across the street and everywhere else. Those are things where a shotgun, you go with a double-aught buck or shot that goes in it, that's going to die pretty fast.
No pun intended.
No pun intended, but the rounds downrange are not as possible, but it's still capable. It will people understand because there's a wall there, it is generally drywall. Just about anything is going to go through it. You can poke a coat hanger through drywall if you do it just right. So understand that when you do go start clearing your house and you have an encounter. But the shotgun can also be modified. There's a lot of tactical stuff out there, and you can do that at any gun shop. Make a tactical stock where it makes it longer or shorter. You can put the magazine extender on there. You can get 10 rounds, in the magazine now, and then you can. There we go.
I heard something. What was that?
There it is, right there.
Universal sound
gets their attention. So, you've taken it now from just a hunting, 3-round or 5-round. If you take the plug out, which that's the way we duck hunt here in Tennessee, with no plugs, and Mr. Game Warden out there. But you can actually.
That was Tom Herring, for the record, and that's not a collective we.
Exactly. So, but like I said, you can add the Denrels to it to where you can put the lights on it, a laser on it. You can outfit it, have a sling on it, in case you do drop it, it stays with you. You can pick it back up because it does have a jolt. The sound that comes out of it, once it's fired, it's going to be loud. So, whoever, you're attacking is going to know that. And to me, those are reasons that I like it. Now, here's the downside of a shotgun. You gonna leave it laying around in the living room or the den or where? Because the biggest thing, Jim, when we're talking about the homes, is what is the accessibility to that firearm? Some people, they have one firearm and it's put in a box and it's got a lock on it for safety and everything else, and it's kind of hard in these times when somebody breaches your, premise and at night and your alarm goes off. This isn't football, and we can't say time out. Mm-hmm. Let me get my weapon so then we can go. You got to be ready. So where do you place a shotgun in your house? And it's not just laying around in plain sight. You have to think about that. A lot of times in my situation, there's multiple guns involved. So one gets me to that one in case there's an encounter before then. But that's more training. That's more things that everybody goes through. And that's just where I fall is on the shotgun. Now, if I wanted to train more and be more proficient and, spend all the time to do that, there's other choices. A shotgun's not for everybody. And that's kind of what I want to get at. And I know Brink has a different opinion. He has a different training background on it, and it fits him. And it's funny because we always, when we're talking to people, they're like, well, I know so-and-so, and he's a Navy SEAL. Mm-hmm. And he told me to use da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. He's a Navy SEAL. He's had that training. He's had that. He's got
the muscle memory. He's got it's second nature to them.
Correct.
It's like an extension of his body.
Yeah, so his advice.
Like you with a microphone, bro.
Exactly, right. Compared to us.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going, you're telling me about your Navy SEAL, and you're not even a pool turtle, so you can't do what he or she can do.
You don't even have inflatable arm swimmies, right?
Exactly. Don't go that route. They have good advice, but it's not necessarily for you. So, Brink, I want to
hit on a couple of things with the shotgun. So the racking of a shotgun, like I have more than one Remington 870 that has a light on it, and there's a tactical version, right? You can run red dots on them too. If you're not going to train much, a red dot's is a good addition. You can get them for relatively inexpensive shotgun. A lot of turkey hunters will use a red dot scope on there. It just allows you to shoot with both eyes open and allows you to clear any red dot, no matter what weapon system you're running it on. Allows you to clear your home using both eyes, leaving both eyes open, shoot using both eyes open. And it doesn't take a lot of practice to get used to running a red dot. You hit on slings. I would recommend a sling. If things change and you need to go hands-on, or let's say you've blasted dude, and then his buddy comes in, you've blasted him, and then now you got to start treating one of your own family members or whatever. What are you going to do with it? Well, you're not just going to set it down. So I'm a big fan of a 2-point sling. There are single point slings out there that have their right application, but That's a whole another conversation. But I don't keep my shotgun. I don't keep around in the chamber because it's back to the safety thing, right? So yeah, you want to be ready, certainly. So some things you can do. Number one, you can obviously, when you go to bed, if you want to put that thing right by your bed, you're not concerned about your kids coming in there and you want to put it around in the chamber, put it on safe, great. Do that. Where I would absolutely be advantageous of you racking it, if somebody's at your door and you want to prevent them from coming in and you want them to send a message that somebody's on the other side of that door that's got something, then, have at it. But shotgun is, again, I ran one that was my primary weapon of choice for years because we didn't have a rifle, right? And if I was any hot call we would go on that involved any kind of really violent response to any kind of firearms, you saw everybody getting their shotguns out. When you weren't just jumping out with your pistol. It's a devastating weapon system, and it's relatively easy to use, inexpensive, right? They're not super expensive. What we didn't hit on, you hit on a little bit of hunting versus these kind of shotguns. I would recommend a shotgun with the shortest barrel you can get on a shotgun and be legal is 18 inches. So Remington makes a home defense version of the shotgun. So does Mossberg. It's got an 18-inch barrel. It's already got the extended mag tube on it that you talked about to hold more rounds. It's got its black synthetic stock, black forearm. It's less than $400, $389 or ish or whatever. You can get them. I don't know if you can get them right now. It's been a run on guns, but Academy Sports. You can get them tons of places. But I'm just a big fan of Remington 870. My life depended on one for years. I've got a good friend I duck hunt with who says that it's one of the best shotguns ever because you can kill ducks all day with it, and then if the motor on your boat dies, you can paddle the boat home with your shotgun and not hurt it.
And still hunt the next morning.
Amen. Yep. Throw a little parquet on it, and you're good to go. So all those things, it's just this whole topic brings a lot. But shotgun's going to be a really good fit for a lot of people, especially if they're not going to train and they're not going to do some of those other things. Now, handguns are real popular for home defense for a number of reasons. The ability to maneuver in your home and clear, and you can imagine trying to clear a corner with a 18-inch barreled shotgun versus a pistol. So you can be a lot more nimble. You can move a lot faster, but it's one round coming out at a time. So it comes with some training. Are you going to put a light on it? If so, do you train with that light? Because like Tom said, the only downside to a light is you're instantly giving away your position. But it's also, if you're going to carry it, then, obviously most people aren't going to figure out a way to carry a rifle in their car all the time. That's not everybody, but most people are not. So if you want to pick a weapon system that's, kind of multi-purpose, you're going to carry, home defense, whatever. I'm a big fan of Glock. My life depended on one. SIG makes a phenomenal firearm as well, H&K. There's a lot of good firearms out there, but, there's a reason that a lot of the majority of law enforcement agencies, run Glocks is they're very reliable. They're very dependable. They're going to function when you need them to function. And so Glock 19 is a really good mid-size. It's not huge and it's not tiny, and it's double stack magazine. It'll hold a lot of rounds. It'll hold 15 rounds in the magazine. And it's got the rails on it to add a light.
Brink.
What?
What do you need 15 rounds for?
To get me to my rifle.
Absolutely.
If I haven't fixed it with those 15 rounds, then the last 3 or 4 are getting me to my rifle.
Exactly. Those are high capacity magazines, and those are just dangerous.
They're not as high capacity as I would like. Reloads are just a pain in the butt, if you have to do it. But, so I recommend, I talked to your buddy the other day about like the Glock 19. It's, it's a 9mm, again, mid-size. We'll take, you can do the same thing with those. You can do with all these other guns. You can put as much tactical stuff on there as you want to, but it's only as good as, are you hitting? I can kill you with a 22, right? It's shot placement at the end of the day. But, if you're only going to get one and you want, one gun and you want to be able to do all these things with it, then that's the gun I would say get.
Right. And very universal.
Yeah. Some people like the 38 Airweight you talked about earlier, the hammerless. That's a good, what I call
a revolver.
It's a revolver. It's a good get off me gun. It's not a good gunfight gun because it's only 5 rounds. Mm-hmm. Difficult to reload, but you can stick it in your purse pocket, not worry about it going off by accident. Those things aren't going off unless you pull the trigger. I used to carry one under my leg when doing undercover buys, because that was literally we called our get off me gun, and then we'd get to our gunfight gun, which was hidden somewhere else. Not the best thing for home defense, but it's not going to accidentally go off, especially for people carrying it. But I mean, I have one for my wife. You got one for your wife.
Correct, because if you don't shoot all the time, I mean, it's point and pull.
Yep.
I mean, that's all you got to do is point and pull, and it doesn't have a hammer to catch on a pocket or a strap and get hung up.
Right.
I mean, nothing more embarrassing than that when you need it and you've got a pocket gun in with a hammer and it's caught on your pocket. And you're going,
yeah, or you shoot yourself in the leg.
The other way.
That's kind of a self-correcting error.
Yeah.
But
So my takeaways thus far, being the layman here,
okay, layman.
is first and foremost, make sure that you have some sort of camera lighting system that is alerting the criminal that, hey, this is not exactly a target you want to mess with. Then fortify your entry systems with a haven lock or some sort of
Security laminate,
the protecting the glass. I've got 2 giant windows on either side of my door that can easily be broken and entry be gained that way. Have a burglary system that's got the alarm settings that are instant.
Yep.
Right? And then if they gain entry, have a plan in place where the kids know what to do. Right? They hear the alarms go off. They know exactly and practice it once a month or whatever. Right?
Yeah,
Sounds
absolutely.
About good. And make sure that the interesting thing I think you brought up. Did we bring it up in this episode? The hollow core versus solid core closet doors.
We did. But
that was off air. But
we talked about deadbolting closet doors in each of their rooms, so they can have a temporary safe room, if you will, to go to.
Yep, but it needs to be a solid
core door.
Yeah, because a hollow core door you can just punch through it. Everybody knows that.
And once
or use a hammer to.
That's right.
Once things get real, the best defense would be some sort of a pistol to get to your shotgun wherever you store it.
Maybe it depends on the person.
Yeah,
I mean, some people we're going to put their 12 gauge right next to their bed, put a round in it, and go to sleep.
Right.
And I'd rather have that than have to get my pistol to get to my shotgun. But everybody's not going to do that. I mean, let's get back to personal choice. What's realistic? Only you know what you're going to do, right? I mean, and people will say all day, well, I do this, this, and this. And then we know that's not true, right? I mean, I used to exploit the crap out of human nature. That's what I did, sneaking in places and doing all that stuff. I mean, we would exploit human nature. We know what people say, and then we know what people actually are going to do. So
What I'm
you do
fascinated-
you,
Yeah,
right?
what I'm fascinated is that there's a process to this. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to bake down in the episode. For somebody like a layman, you need to understand and get familiar with your weapon systems.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, how often do we train? Do we train once a week? Do we go to the range? And getting familiar with, when you pick it up, you want to make sure it feels like an extension of you.
Yeah. One of the great things, Jim, right now are the local gun stores like Royal Range. You can actually go there and rent weapons and go on their range and shoot them.
Right.
And, so you're not having to take, Larry's advice and Randy's advice and all this and go buy a weapon and then go shoot it and be like, wow, this is way more complicated than I thought. Man, I didn't know that slide was that hard to pull.
Right.
I didn't know. You can go rent them and shoot them.
Get the one that's right for you.
Correct. And find which one you like, which one is easiest, which one fits your hand. I mean, that's a huge thing. You're taking advice from somebody. Well, if they're 6'6" and their hand is, like a tennis racket coming at you, and you give them a little bitty gun, I mean, it just wraps up in their hand.
Here's a
blow
Derringer.
their finger off. Yeah. Or in my case, you hand me a huge, a gun with a huge handle. I have little hands. It's not going to grip right. I'm going to drop it, or, the recoil is going to be different, or, So you have a great opportunity nowadays with your local ranges to rent and shoot and see what caliber.
Are you guys of the opinion that we're at a time that it is urgent and necessary for laymen to do these types of things, to, make it a priority?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think yes is the answer to that question. Let me elaborate a little bit. I just want people to ask themselves this question. If you're in your home, dad, husband, right, and somebody breaches your home with a firearm and you don't have the ability to protect your family, then what?
Yep.
I mean, and I hate to put it that way, but it's kind of where we are. And I can't tell you how many people in the last month have inquired about firearms training, have inquired about which firearm to purchase. I mean, I've got friends that you talk about never firearm owners. Oh my God. Like it just freaked them out. They're now wanting to go buy guns and are asking my opinion, all those kind of things. Back to what feels comfortable. There's a lot of different sizes of Glocks.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's a good tip to, go and rent them and go to a range and get familiar with
And there's instructors there as well.
Right.
Yep.
So you can.
I mean,
Please.
I've shot many a gun in those scenarios, and I know which ones were very comfortable. I'm like, oh, I like this one.
Yep.
You know.
Well, and I'll segue into rifles as far as an AR platform rifle goes. Once we got those in law enforcement here in Nashville, I mean, that was an instant game changer because it's such a dominant weapon system that you can either clear your house with it, or I can hit you at 300 meters if I have to, right? I mean, it's a devastating round. There's a lot of energy behind it because it's a rifle round. They do make frangible ammo the department carries ammo that's going to tear you up. It's not going to go through 14 walls, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so that's available. It's lightweight. They're easy to shoot. They're extremely accurate, almost like a shotgun. It's like you brought up on the 38, right? It's point and shoot. If you can use a camera, you can use an AR in your house. I mean, it's really. I've seen, unfortunately, a lot of footage of active shooters, and a lot of them aren't aiming and using their sights. They're literally pointing their rifle at people and hitting them, and that's just what's going to happen because it's such a straight line shot deal. I've seen multiple videos of homeowners and engaging would-be robbers in their home or what have you, and just absolutely dominating in the firefight. It's extremely loud. It's extremely devastating when it hits you. And it's typically a 30-round magazine. It put lights on them. You can put red dots on them. There's a reason that the military carries them. There's a reason that law enforcement carries them. They're easy to get to. There's almost no recoil to them. I mean, people think it's going to kick like crazy, and it doesn't. It's got a spring in the stock called a buffer spring, but I mean, it recoils like a 22. I mean, it takes training.
Yeah.
And muscle
familiarity.
memory.
Yeah.
And there are, do you know how to hit your charge and handle under stress? Do you know how to, there are some things that go along. It's a little bit more complicated of a weapon system. So if you're not going to train, that is not right for you because it's going to be useless to you under stress. Or you're going to break your finger trying to pull the trigger because you forgot to flip the safety off because you didn't train that way.
But I think a lot of it is, understanding that to the layman, that dude, you got to train. It's just
no
gotta
matter
be,
what.
It's got to be, disciplined training.
And I was going to say there's no universal answer. People say, what gun should I carry?
Right.
As we've discussed here, there's pros and cons to all of them, and opinions that, there's plenty of opinions to go around. The only universal piece of that is whoever is using it needs training.
Yeah.
On whichever firearm it is. That's the universal thing.
And persistent training, not one-time training.
Right. Like would you recommend once a month, twice a month? I mean,
whatever's realistic for you, because that's not going to be for everybody. I mean, but yeah, at a minimum, I would say once a month.
Make it a family thing, family outing.
Absolutely.
But people just don't. I mean, the reality is they don't. I mean,
they don't think about it.
Listen, bro, I can tell you there's a large percentage of the police department that shoots their gun twice a year, and that's when they have to at in-service. And that, to me, is insane.
It is.
But that's the majority of the department, and that's the majority of most departments. My life depends on that every day. Like, I need to be as good with this stuff as I can be. And a lot of people just, they don't focus there. I just, you need to be able to make that shot. It's your home, it's your family, it's your life, or their lives.
Getting into the home, what are some universal things that people can, what should a layman keep in mind about their home? Like, they're in it. The threat is real. What are the things that they should be also keeping in mind and training for in their house, in terms of pathways, egress, that kinds of thing?
Well, again, back to having a plan, having known evacuation routes for you and your family, right? And more than one option, right? Because option one may not be available. How many steps is it from your bedroom door to your kid's bedroom door?
Yeah, does anybody even think about that
stairs?
stuff?
How many stairs is it? Well, I travel some with what I do, and the first thing I do when I get to my hotel room is I step out the door and I count the number of steps to the fire escape door. Because if that hall's full of smoke, if you've ever never been in a building full of smoke, you forget it. I mean, all those doors feel the same, and you don't know where they are, right? So that's the first thing I do when I get to my hotel room is count the number of steps to the door at the end of the hall and make sure I know where it is. And people think, oh, my God. I'm like, well, fill it up with smoke and tell me you won't be happy you did that. So, I mean, I'm constantly reminded there's a fine line between being prepared and being paranoid, but, it's just a preparation thing. Like, what do you know? In your home, we have a few of our clients that we do like that kind of training for VIP, right? In your home training, right? On how to exploit your floor plan. How are we clearing this house? But you can go take Tom mentioned Royal Range earlier. The cadre of instructors out there are phenomenal, and they've got several classes, but they've got a shoot house out there that's simunition, so it's non-lethal rounds. But you can do room clearing and go through one of those kind of courses. The principles apply no matter where you are. You can change the floor plan up all day, and I'm still going to be able to clear that house because of my training and what I know about room clearing and doing those kind of things. So I would recommend a familiarity course, getting comfortable with your weapon, maybe an advanced course after that, and then a room clearing course. But if you're not going to do that, at least, get online and look for some good information on room clearing. I mean, there's a YouTube video for everything. I mean, be careful who the source is, obviously. Don't Joe Blow throwing a frag grenade in your living room before you run in there and clear it. But
getting back to the triple D, what was the first one?
Delay.
So that if we only
we almost need to change it for this, right?
Deny, delay, destroy.
Yeah, I mean, for this application, it's deny first.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So to deny entry and make sure that the house is not a target. If there were just a sticker that I could put on the front of my house that said I was a God-fearing gun owner, where would I get that?
Yeah, Brink.
Why y'all asking me?
Is there a website out there? God-fearing gun owner?
There's a website called godfearinggunowners.com. Yeah, I don't think they have a sticker like that.
But it's owners. It's plural with an S.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's more than one, right? Groupthink.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if I had a sticker like that, it'd probably solve a lot of problems.
It's going to let
maybe
them make you a target,
well, I was about to say there's a couple of viewpoints on it. One, you're sending a message like, don't come here and screw with me. Number two, you're sending a message, there's firearms in the home, so maybe they will target you for a burglary during the day when you're not home, versus it's some crazy Antifa people wanting to set your house on fire. So there's, but yeah, there's certainly a segment of society that would love something like that. There's no question about that. But your one thing I didn't mention, I mentioned the Haven, but I can tell you with the number of doors that I've breached, there's another thing that's available at Home Depot. I think it's made by Master Lock. It's just a lean-to bar. It's got a rubber foot on the bottom. It's got kind of a U-shaped plastic handle on top that hooks under your door handle. Mm-hmm. You talk about hard to force in, because those, like the Haven, they give just a little bit and then close the door back on you when you're beating on it. And, they're readily available for less than $40. And you put those on your doors, Joe Blow's not kicking that door in. I mean, not without some knowledge and some tools. They're not as sleek and good looking, and it's cool, really. And they're probably they're not as strong as a Haven lock. But it's another alternative for people that just want some. If we're back to the kid's closet with the door that swings in, that's a good alternative to a deadbolt, is putting that thing. That thing's actually better than a deadbolt on an in-swing door.
If you don't want the lock on there.
Right.
I got you.
Or if the door swings in, I would have one of those lean-tos before I have a deadbolt.
And if you want to go smaller than that, on the back of that closet door, it's real easy. You can either buy them at Home Depot, but it's the little wedge, that you hold a door open with. But you can also, if the door in swings, shove it under it. You can also take a 2x4 and cut you a little corner off of wedge and hang it on the back of the closet door where they can slide it under as well.
Right.
And then you don't have the lock.
Or have a 2x4 cut to length, right, from the back of your door to the back wall baseboard.
The closet.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just lay that thing there. You're not getting in.
One other thing you mentioned earlier, hotel.
Yeah.
And I want to jump back to that because a lot of people travel and they're in hotels a lot. So you can do the same thing. The little wedge I was talking about, you can take one of those with you in your suitcase. And I know everybody feels real secure. You know, when you go into your hotel room and go to sleep at night and you flip the latch over, the safety latch, which you can open those very easily if you get that far. Then you have the deadbolt, but everybody still has a way to get into the room, you know, with an electronic key. And if you've ever stayed at a hotel, you know how easy it is to get an extra key to a room. It's very easy. So you can put the wedge under there. One of the things I do, most hotel rooms now have a chair of some kind, either a rolling desk chair, anything. And I like not to wedge my door, but I like to put it, you know, 5 to 6 inches away from the door. So when they go to open that door, it at least makes a racket. It wakes me up. That's the biggest thing. And, you know, there again, the lock was on the door to protect them, not me, at that point in time, because they've alerted me they're coming in or we're going to have a problem.
Right.
So those are just little things.
Well, now that we're doing this on video, I mean, I keep a wedge with me. I mean, in my backpack. I mean, they're handy for a lot of things, but
bring what you pull out of your pockets, your
hey, don't worry about it.
I mean, this wasn't even playing. You pull a freaking wedge out.
We should have just an episode where we go through Brink's pockets.
Exactly.
No, we shouldn't. Nobody needs to know what's in my pockets unless I need it. Okay, but wedges they're very inexpensive. You know, again, they're small, they're multi-purpose, and they are very difficult to force open if it's wedged really. Where
can you get that?
Tightly. Green Military sells them, galls.com. I'm trying to remember some other places. Well, maybe we'll put a link. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's put a link in the episode.
But any 2x4 and a skill saw, you can cut the corner off.
Right.
And you got your wedge. So
I mean,
that's
and that's a great. It's actually, you know, Haven designed their lock around what Alex, their co-founder, was seeing when he was overseas serving as a special operations helicopter pilot on how the bad guys were blocking their doors, you know, to keep the good guys from coming in. And it's very effective, and it's a lot more rudimentary, and it's not as cool looking and as sleek and as convenient, but it's an alternative for people, you know, certainly. It's an easy fix, right? I don't know, Jim, you want to hold this closer so they can see that?
Sure. Hold it up to the camera.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not as close as you are. Yeah.
And we did not discuss this before, and you pulled a freaking wedge out of your backpack that you carry with you all the time.
Are you surprised?
No, I'm not at all. I love it. And then if they do get in, Jim, he can also go to the pocket and pull out his tourniquet and put it around their neck as well. It's because
I'm trying to stop the bleeding.
Exactly
around their neck.
Well, this has been very enlightening.
Good.
You know?
Well, and you asked of probability of should people be thinking of it. I'm going to throw out a common term that's out floating around. You might hear once or twice on the media, maybe even see a sign. It's called defund the police. So if you thought the response times from when you call 911, when you hear somebody coming in your house, you know, let's just say it's a quick scenario and they arrive in 3 minutes.
Not happening.
What are you doing for 3 minutes before they get there?
Now we're going
to defund the police department where there's fewer of them and they're further away, so your response times are increasing, so not decreasing. Right. So you better have
a plan. Back
to our 15-round magazine. While we need that now, we may have a longer response time than we need to shoot longer.
Amen.
Or shoot better.
Well, folks, just listen. Here's the thing. If you're going to become a firearm owner, and the reason for that is to protect you and your family, then you need to at least be at a level where you can destroy, and not just spray and pray, right? When we train church security teams, I said that's not even a good idea in church to spray and pray, right? You need to have the skill set to destroy and dominate that firefight. I mean, it needs to be overwhelming show of force immediately. And, you know, most people are like, I'm not sure I could shoot somebody. If you, or especially your family's life is in danger, you will not hesitate. That is ingrained in us by our Creator, period. You will not hesitate to protect your family. You just won't. But having a decent skill set and a decent firearm to be able to do that, it all goes back to the tips, tactics, and tools, right? They all kind of work together. So, you know, again, I think I hope this was helpful for you. I mean,
Completely.
Tom and I talk about this till we're blue in the face. You know,
Very eye opening. That's why I wanted to make sure it was a as general and universal as it gets type of approach.
Yeah.
At least starts the conversation for people to think.
Right. And if people have more questions, obviously, I mean, we always close out the show with how you can get a hold of us, right? Tom, you got anything to add to wrap this one?
No, I'm done.
That was exciting as hell. Boy.
The only thing you could have really done
Enlightening.
is drawn a deep breath before you said it. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I will put a disclaimer on there. We are pro firearms. It is our Second Amendment right. We love them, but we also know the safety regulations that go around with that, and encourage you, if you are going to get one, make sure you are taking into account children at home, their capabilities, and how you're storing it and what you're doing is be responsible.
Right.
Yeah, that's for sure. And most kids, if you start them young, will get it. Take the glamour away from it.
That's a whole nother episode.
It is, really. Yeah. Let's wrap this one up. So, on that note, thanks for listening to this edition of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow. You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, or you can reach out to us at tipstacticstools.com.
I'm out.